they made these comments about Lucy being evasive during the interviews, and Stephanie gave exactly the explanation that I gave.
Okay, this interview has been recorded. I'm Detective Constable 200 Lee, the officer present here.
3201, Mickey Holt.
Can you introduce yourself again for me, Lucy, please?
Lucy Letby.
The ultimate objective for interviewing Lucy Letby was all about getting the truth as to what happened to these babies and ultimately provide her with ample opportunity to give an alternative explanation as to why these babies rapidly fell so ill or did collapse.
So, in general terms, during the resuscitation, what are the roles?
Usually the medical staff have the airway.
Yeah.
They would be delivering the resuscitation drugs, so 2 people would be doing the drugs. And then ideally have somebody supporting the parents.
She was very knowledgeable, she was calm, she was engaging, and when talking about the processes involved in the care of these babies, she knew the answers to the questions.
So, who takes the notes during the resuscitation?
Ideally you would have a scribe there, so it's usually one of the junior doctors would take on, or one of the nurses would take on the scribing role.
But when she was challenged over certain points, particularly her actions around the time of the collapses, I think she did become slightly more evasive.
Just prior to the collapse, Lucy, had you had any cause to go into nursery one at all?
I don't remember.
Right. Were you working in nursery one?
I don't think I was, but I don't recall which baby I was looking after.
Okay. And you don't remember the process of how you ended up in nursery one with the resus?
No.
She would spend some time thinking about a reply and would almost leave it what felt like a significant amount of time before answering.
Are you aware of why you required resuscitation?
No, I don't recall the events leading up to that. I just know that he had resuscitation.
Daniel Stonier makes these comments about, when she was asked about general things, she gave quick answers, and then, I mean, I've already explained this myself, Stephanie's explained it, but do you have any comments on that assertion?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. Again, this is drawing inferences from behaviour that they're not qualified to do, and are completely inappropriate. Even from the short excerpts we saw of the interview, when Lucy's being asked things like, tell us about your daily routine, tell us about how you look after babies on the ward, tell us about how this might work or that might work, understandably, that's from her general knowledge, her day-to-day working knowledge. So yes, she's going to be more lucid, she's going to be able to give more detail in that context. But then she's asked about the specific circumstances surrounding individual babies, some of these occurrences having occurred 2 years before. Now, yes, it's dreadful, it's traumatic that a baby has died in any circumstances, that any baby died in that hospital. But to expect somebody who is working in a hospital to remember specific details from over 2 years ago, I think is it's ridiculous, and it's completely wrong to draw those inferences to say, well, when we were asking her stuff about, working in the hospital, she was able to talk about it. But as soon as we asked stuff about, a particular baby, she couldn't remember. Of course she couldn't remember. It was 2 years before, and, you can't expect that. I mean, I can think, if you were to say to me, Steve, tell me about, being a detective and about, doing this, that and the other. Now, you were involved in an arrest in 2006 and this happened, did you go to the front door or the back door? And, who was in the house at the time? It's nonsense, isn't it? I wouldn't have that level of detail in my mind. I could talk to you all day about being a detective. So I think the whole thing, again, gives an insight into the naive approach and this insistence that they have that they can draw some sort of inference, some sort of meaning from Lucy's behaviour. And that goes right through to the court, where the prosecution again are talking about her behaviour, and you get people like Judith Moritz, talking about Lucy's behaviour in the box at court. Just absolute nonsense, absolute nonsense. but people think they can do it. We all think we can understand other people's emotions, their intent, their guilt by the way we look, or by the way they look, and you can't. It's not possible. And that's the end of that. And I can say that because I do have a master's in psychology, and I do know that the research demonstrates you cannot do it.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've studied psychology a bit as well, and in fact, it's usually part of the syllabus to show that you can misinterpret people's behaviour, demeanour, etc. What I would say in relation to what you just said is that I think the difference is intelligent people, we try to read people's emotions. That's a good thing to do because if someone's upset, you can respond to it appropriately and so forth. But I think intelligent people know that they can be wrong and to have a more nuanced outlook. They don't just think, oh, this person did this, so we now definitely know that this is the case.
You're right. The difference is, Chris, it's being able to read people's emotions, and we should all do that. It's an essential part of daily life. But that's very different from observing someone's behaviour and making a judgment about their inner workings of their mind, their intent, their guilt, or other aspects. That's very different from being alive to other people's emotions and being sensitive to them, etc., etc.
Yeah. So it seems to me that this observation. So I was thinking about it from my perspective as well. You gave a good example. I was thinking that they could have asked me as a writer, when would you use a semicolon? Obviously, I can answer that immediately. And then they could have asked me, what book were you writing on 22nd of May 2022? I haven't got a clue, obviously. So that's just such an obvious thing to me that I feel like the observation that was made by Danielle Stonier in this documentary is indicative of the confirmation bias that they had, certainly by this stage. Do you think that's a fair comment?
No, I think that's absolutely true. I think that's very accurate. It's another clear indication of the confirmation bias that was, I think, driven throughout the investigation.
Yeah.